Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Martin, aka Modest Intentions. Today I want to show you how to create snares with Serum 2. Thank God Steve Duda added sample mode into oscillators, so now it's so easy. We're just a few clicks away from actually making some of the most amazing, heaviest, nastiest snares. It's really that simple. But you know, you can actually go like fully serious and then send different layers to different buses. It's just such a rabbit hole. I'm going to keep it fairly clean and simple so that you actually have a result, and then you know you can go on and explore that yourself. So I'm going to open Serum 2 right now and show you something right here. We are going to use a simple sine wave and reduce the randomness of the phase to 0 and create a very basic snare. I've done this quite a few times on this channel, so I'm not going to explain everything in the small detail, especially because you can just stop this video and kind of just do the same thing. But yeah, basically what I'm doing here is, for those of you who don't know, I'm creating an LFO that controls the volume of the oscillator A. So it feels a little bit like a kick drum. So we don't necessarily want it to be that long. I think the snares can be a bit shorter. And now what we want to do is we want to create a transient for the snare. Let's turn it to Hertz mode so we can be more precise with the transient. Make sure that it's kind of there, but it's not really obvious, because if you have a very obvious transient, it just sounds like a laser and it just is super annoying in the mix. Now, let's create another LFO right here in the monopolar mode. You see we got quite a nasty punch. Let's keep it like that for now. Maybe that is too much. Actually, yeah, it is. Let me speed it up a bit more. That's fine. And what I'm going to do now is create a little bit of a pre-delay for the punch and the body to cut through, and add an LFO to the level of noise. We want to change the mode to white noise. Thank God we finally got stereo, so that's good. Everything should be in envelope mode, by the way. Control this. Let's create a little bit of a pre-attack. Cool. Now what you want to do is use filter 1 in the high 24 mode. So we want to create a high pass on the noise, because the noise has a lot of low end and we don't want to ruin the punch. Pretty cool. Now, if you want, you can go a little bit further down in semitones for the snare to sound a little bit deeper. I mean, that sounds pretty cool. Next thing you want to do is, if you want to make it a bit harder, you can add a bit of soft clipper here. But be careful, because if you do too much, your snare is going to start sounding like you scratch nails, or like you scratch chalk on the chalkboard. It's not necessarily what you want. Like the noise becomes very sandy. So you can just add a little bit. Let's go before and after. Maybe a bit more. Yeah, it adds a little bit of volume and just a little bit more clipped snare. Now, what you want to do here is basically use oscillator B and oscillator C in sample mode and use any sample that you like into it. I don't know, I've just been playing around with a couple of samples, so let's just use this one for example. It's a random one by Virtual Riot. So you have two attacks clashing, which is not optimal at all. So what you want to do is, with this sample layer, because we already created a punch, we do a little bit of a pre-delay and we send LFO to the level right here. Next step, filter 2 and create a high pass for the second snare. There you go. Now you can adjust how long you want it to be, how loud you want it to be. Isn't that cool? I think that's pretty awesome. And of course, you still have LFO1, which is responsible for the loudness of the punch. So you can make the punch a bit quieter, so the noise is louder relatively to the punch of the snare. I just did it 80%, 90%. I think 90% is around the sweet spot, but it really depends on snares, on specific snares. So now what we want to do is we want to add another sample. I don't know, let's just play around and see what we want. Let's just use an orchestral one. I don't mind. Let's just put it in here and then create the same type of LFO, but maybe a little bit longer tail. And in the envelope mode, send it right here. Filter to oscillator C turned on. Ooh, that's interesting. That sounds a bit different. Maybe you want it to be a bit quieter. Maybe you want to pitch shift it. That sounds pretty awesome. I think that, yeah, for drum and bass, you want traditionally a little bit shorter snares. That's pretty cool. Now, you got a very nice layered, kind of like realistic snare that sounds pretty powerful. You can now make it louder. And there's this very cool trick. There's a plugin called P42 Climax. And this plugin, it really is like, it's like a, what do you call it? It's like a saturator, but like a band saturator, very similar to Saturn. So in Saturn, you can do this thing right here, right? Where you can saturate like the low end, but you don't necessarily have to saturate the high end, or you can make multiple. In this case, P42 is a little bit more limited. It doesn't really create that many layers, but what it can do is it can boost the low end in a way that I don't know how to do this with a Saturn. So usually what I do here is put around 300 hertz on the low shelf and add a little bit of boost right here. So you will see how that adjusts the snare. Let's hear that. Now, if you saturate it a little bit, the snare will start sounding a bit saturated on the low end. It's very subtle, but it does make a difference in the mix. So in order for me to show that, let me create a small demo for you. So I put together a couple of bass lines. There's no side chaining or anything going on. Let me add some percussion as well. And let's just play this. Now, next thing you want to do is you want to kind of readjust your snare to match with the vibe of your track. I feel like like that thing right here, the body is a little too crazy, so I might want to reduce it a little bit. I might want to go harder. You know, you might want to add some clappiness into snare, or if you want, or not. If you want to, you can do this with equalizer by boosting around 1,500 to 2,000 hertz. So now it's a matter of like how compressed you want it to be, how long and loud you want the noises to be. You can always reduce them. Right here, you don't want to go anywhere else. That's the best thing about it. And maybe the noise. So now you can play around with it further and you guys go be creative. I don't want to kind of like ruin your creativity. You know, that's one of the methods that I use. Obviously, you can use a third sample over here, you know, just the attack from the snare. Let's say, whatever. Let's say this snare. You like just the attack of this snare. Cool. You can just kind of like steal it right here. And you got the punch. Now you can adjust the loudness and the octave. So now you have the punch from Tedicular snare, the body from Virtual Ride snare, and then some orchestral snare on top of that. Sure. play around, enjoy this process. If you guys want to learn more, join my music school. It's called Captivating Motives. The link is in the description. It's basically my Discord channel with around 300 like-minded people. And, you know, there's an opportunity for you to share your songs, to get a second opinion, or, you know, maybe collab with someone, or have a structured mentorship and guidance from myself. You know, I will manage you, I'll help you find the right label, I'll help you to structure your career, and, you know, of course, all the other stuff related to production. I'm also pretty good at it, and I'm going to be there to guide you and give you the structure and the discipline to become a full-time producer one day. So yeah, thank you for watching this one, and I'll see you another time.